Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're having a good week. A nice sunny day back over here in the UK. I'm going to be going out and savouring some of that sunshine soon. But before we do that, let's talk boxing, and do not let all this talk about PEDs and Joshua and White and Helenius obscure the fact there is a very, very good matchup, a good fight this weekend. It's over in America and it's between two Mexicans, OSCAR VALDEZ, former champ, and EMANUEL NAVARRETE. Now, Navarrete, we'll start with Navarrete first. Let's go through their records and talk a little bit about the individual fighters. Navarrete, 37 wins with 31 KOs, one defeat, which was a 4-rounder against an undefeated fighter way back when his career was in its infancy. No draws. He's listed as 5'7" on BoxRec. Orthodox fighter, typical Mexican fighter really. Just a very, very good pressure fighter. Made his name by beating Isaac Dogbay back in 2018. Outpointed him, and then that was for the WBO super bantamweight title. And then he beat Dogbay in the rematch, stopped him in the 12th and final round. I think the corner threw the towel in. Then he made a string of defences at super bantam. He then won the vacant featherweight title, again the WBO. He's well in with the WBO. All his world titles have been WBO belts. He beat Ruben Villa. That was a unanimous decision. Villa was undefeated at the time, 18-0, so that was a good feather to have in your cap. And then he made, again, a string of defences. One was against Joet Gonzalez. That was a 12-round unanimous decision. And I think his final, if I remember rightly, his final defence was against Eduardo Baez. You might have to correct me on that. I think he stopped him in about 6, if memory serves. But I've seen a lot of this guy, Navarrete. I've been following him. I like him a lot. He's very entertaining. But he moved up to super featherweight, and he won the vacant title from Liam Wilson, and that was earlier this year. And to be honest with you, it was by his standards, quite a poor performance, and he didn't look like he really belonged in the super featherweight division. That's the impression I got. He stopped Wilson in the 9th round, knocked him down in the 9th, and the ref stopped it. But he himself was on the floor in round 4, and there were clearly rounds that Wilson was winning quite convincingly. So there is that question mark over Navarrete. Navarrete is 28, so you would think he's probably in his prime. He's had 38 fights. He's not a novice, but at the same time, it's not like Canelo, who's had 50 something. But by today's standards, 38 fights is quite a lot. But in no shape or form is he. I would say he's not over the hill. I really think that the Liam Wilson fight was a case of him jumping up a weight division too quickly. He may have settled in physically to the division, but he's going to be tested by OSCAR VALDEZ. So let's talk a bit about VALDEZ, because he's 31 wins and 1 defeat, 23 KOs in the win column. The defeat was last year, back in April 2022, to Shakur Stevenson. And as soon as I heard that he was fighting Shakur Stevenson, I was thinking he'll barely win a round. The style just totally wrong for VALDEZ. And sure enough, I can't remember the cards, but I think he won. He lost most of the rounds. He might have won a round or two on a couple of the cards. And so that was at super feather. He has held a super featherweight belt before. He was WBC champ, but he lost it to Shakur Stevenson. And his last fight was against Adam Lopez, and that was a rematch. In the first fight, he stopped Lopez in 7 rounds, and they had this rematch, and he won it, but he didn't look that bad, but he kind of looked a little lacking in motivation, going over old ground perhaps, and he won a unanimous decision. But Lopez looked to me to be just not as talented as OSCAR VALDEZ. He was trying, but he just couldn't really find a way through. Now, VALDEZ, to me, I mean, the zenith of his career probably was the fight with Miguel Berchelt, which was at, again, when he was WBC super feather champ. No, actually, Berchelt was the champ, and, VALDEZ won the belt off him. Stopped him in 10 rounds. That was back in 2021, and it was a brilliant fight. I mean, Berchelt was down in rounds 4, 9 and 10. But my God, he gave him a fight. And to me, that fight wrecked Berchelt. Berchelt was never the same after that. But you know what? I think VALDEZ left a bit in the ring that night as well. And he knocked Berchelt out. It was a picturesque highlight reel knockout. but he didn't have things his own way, not by a long shot in that fight. Berchelt was always in his face. Then he fought Robinson Conceição, won a 12-round unanimous decision. I remember, I thought, I wouldn't say it was a robbery, but Conceição, he won, let's put it this way, he won rounds and it wasn't convincing by Valdez, not for me. I'm doing this on memory, so I can't exactly remember how the fight went completely. But, excuse me, after that he fought Shakur Stevenson, and we know how that went. But also, let's also bear in mind that Valdez he was a WBO featherweight champ, so he and Navarrete have that in common. And he made several defences, and I mean he fought Scott Quigg. I remember that one and he suffered a broken jaw against Scott Quigg. So he again, you would use the word veteran. Yeah, and I do think he's past his best, Valdez. The impression I get since that Berchelt fight is that he's past his best. And I mean, bear in mind, he won the WBO feather title back in 2016, so that's 7 years ago, and he made a lot of defences with that. And some of them were good names, like Manuel Navariete. He beat him on points, but when you've had your jaw busted against Quigg and you've been in some knockdown fights, I mean, Jason Sanchez was an undefeated fighter. Carmine Tomasone was undefeated. He was fighting good men and beating them, but it all puts miles on the clock. And certainly, of course, his style, I mean, both these guys actually are pressure fighters, but his style, he has got that come forward pressure fighter way of doing things. Now, both these fighters are orthodox. Valdez, but to me, even though Valdez has looked like he's past his best, I would definitely think he's got the power to knock Navarrete out with one punch, possibly. Because even though Navarrete was not looking good against Liam Wilson, maybe it was a false alarm. Maybe it was just a bad day at the office, and he'll be better than he was at this weight, super featherweight, than he was there. With regard to Valdez, he's quite precise with his punches, quite conservative with his output. He only lets his hands go if he thinks he's going to land. And he does like the one-punch power, whereas Navarrete is, again, a pressure fighter, but he's very industrious. The output is a lot more. So even though I can see a scenario where Valdez can knock Navarrete out, and I don't really see Navarrete knocking Valdez out, to be honest, but I do see him outworking him. So my prediction is that Navarrete will outpoint Valdez around the 116, 112 mark, 115, 113 will probably be in there as well. But yeah, I see it as being a unanimous, possibly a close, but unanimous decision for Emmanuel Navarrete over Oscar Valdez. But the joy of these fights that we look forward to is that they're so difficult to predict. They're very difficult to predict. That's what makes them great fights. So yeah, Navarrete to outpoint Valdez. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. What's your prediction? Don't forget this fight's on. It's going to be a good one. Real good matchup. Two Mexican guys together. Come on, you can't go wrong, can you? Yeah, comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button. And yeah, looking forward to reading your comments as always. Thank you for your time and we'll speak again soon. Bye for now.